But welcome everyone. Tanji Kiwal, Lucy Fowler, Dishna Kashon, Winnipeg, Dushtin, Magadan Kiskaya, Niwikin. I'm Lucy Fowler. I am Michif from Winnipeg, Manitoba, but currently living in the land that's called Kiskaya or the Dominican Republic. My family were Sinclairs, Cummings, Prudens, and Nortons who took scrip in St. Andrews. I also have other family and ancestors from Red River, Oxford House, Norway House, and Sioux Valley. And so I'm so excited for everyone to be here tonight for this awesome event. We have a wonderful speaker here today, Sheila Laroque, who will introduce in a moment. But I did also want to just introduce the evening. So some of you may have come to previous events in this series and some may have not. So this series is put on by the Mamawi Project for a group of Métis folks from across the homelands. And we kind of just come together to create spaces to have conversations and to make connections with other Métis people. And so this series came out of one of our gatherings, and the series was named by Kai Pyle, who you can see in the in here today as well. They had the first in this series, the Mamawi Aachimotaak series, which means let's tell stories together. And so we're super excited for this event tonight, and Sheila talking to us about introductions to genealogical research into your Métis family. So without further ado, I'll introduce Sheila. Sheila's from the Saskatchewan area and finally moved back home in March 2020. Her Métis heritage comes from her father's side, who grew up just outside Duck Lake, Saskatchewan. Her mother is originally from southwestern Ontario with Irish and Scottish heritage. Sheila moved to Toronto for grad school in 2014, where she became a librarian. After working for a couple of years in Edmonton, Alberta, she came back home on March 10th, 2020. Great timing. She now lives in Saskatoon and works at the University of Saskatchewan libraries. So we're so thrilled to have Sheila here to share some of her expertise and have some conversations with us. We're going to start off with Sheila, and then she'll introduce some of the discussion portions later on. So just hang on to your questions or throw them in the chat and we'll have lots of time to talk as well. So Sheila, I'll turn it over to you.
Cool. Thank you for that introduction. So I guess first things first is I don't consider myself an expert. So I'm a librarian and I have some experience doing research and I know a few things about a few things. But I'm not an archivist, and we're not actually going to be digging in any old boxes tonight, but maybe you will later when, you know, COVID and everything else. So so thank you for that. It makes me feel really like good and happy to be sharing what I do know with people. So let's advance my screen. Okay. So just before you begin your research project, there's some things to consider before doing, you know, this type of work. So genealogy is time consuming. It's not intuitive. It's not as easy as it is. I tell my students when I'm teaching in my job that like doing research is different than using the internet for any other thing. We're used to being able to put a whole question into Google and having that work and having an answer pop up for us. It's not really like that when it comes to archival research or genealogy. There's going to be dead ends. There's going to be weird, oh, I didn't think that was right. There's going to be weird misspellings of things. There's going to be roadblocks. There's going to be like frustrating things as well. So that's my disclaimer. But there's also going to be a lot of really cool things and a lot of a lot of really interesting things and like beautiful moments. Like I live for those research moments where it's like, like I found it. Like that's like my like favorite thing. Like I like live for that. So I hope that that spark and that curiosity comes across, and I hope you can have those moments in whatever it is that you do. Yeah. So, the other thing I should say, oh, hold on. The other thing I should say before I get started and before I show a Wizard of Oz GIF is that archives and like genealogy has, it can also be really difficult research, especially because in some instances, it's really like a record of our trauma, especially with things like stolen land and like an incomplete record. So I have a lot of privilege, an incredible amount of privilege in being able to find my family relatively easily, but that's because there just happens to be written documentation of some stuff. So you might not have that experience, and families do get interrupted, especially Métis families, from many different things. So adoption, whether you know about the adoption or not, foster parents, lots of things. So I just wanted to start at the beginning and say I hold a lot of space for the people who it isn't as easy for, and I hope this comes across as like a kind place of like, you know, I don't know where to start, and this is all I have. So I hope we can work together as like a community to try to, go where your curiosity can lead you in the most comfortable and safe way. So, and now to my, this is how I envision like myself, like this GIF of like GIF, I pronounce it wrong, I know, but of like the Wizard of Oz, like that moment at the end of the movie where they made the journey to the all great and powerful Wizard of Oz, and it's just this like nerd behind a curtain. So like I consider myself like, I don't know who I identify with like the most in this, like if it's like Toto, like if I'm like the pulling across the curtain, if I'm Dorothy, of course, or like for obvious reasons, like the one that came home, or if I'm like this like old nerdy man behind a curtain. I don't know. So somewhere within these three things lies the truth. So this is kind of what I envisioned for tonight. So I hope I can answer some questions, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so I'm not an archivist. I work with archivists. I think they're lovely people. I think they do work. But archives are totally different than libraries. So I find libraries easier to work with because I do it all the time. And I do tell my students, though, another thing is like when I'm doing a session at work, like teaching about whatever, I like make sure to let people know like the links that I'm gonna click on are purple because I've done this before. And like I like practice, like each time I do a thing, I like practice beforehand so I don't look like an idiot. So yeah, it's gonna might look like oh, I'm just so magical, like oh yeah, look, oh let's just use this as an example. Like no, like I've like done this before. So anyway, just like getting that disclaimer also out of the way. So the difference between like archives and libraries. So libraries have published material. They're organized by subject heading, which are not always correct when it comes to Indigenous people, but in fact are highly problematic at the best of times. And in that way, like that's where the discoverability relies, is in keywords and subjects and things like that. So everything in a library has a catalog record, and you can borrow materials. You can have food and drink and all sorts of shenanigans that go on in a public library. Anyway, archives are totally different. So archives include unpublished material. So because everything in an archive is unpublished, it's organized by creator, so or donator, or whoever, like however it came to be, like that's usually how it's organized. We call, so that's the top level, and it's called fond. So, and we FONDS, and we say it with the French thing because we love that. We also try to, there's a principle in archival accession, which means adding to things, that we go by respect du fond. So that means like not changing the order of things as we receive it. So if we get things in a box, like get a big box donated to us, we will keep that in order, because while it might not make sense to us now why things are in a certain order, they might become clear as researchers study that material. So because of that, and because really going through and like accessing, or I don't know, figuring out what's in the box, like, and knowing what is in can take a long time. Sometimes we accept collections and donations without actually knowing what's fully in it, but we know we want it because we want to keep it safe, but we don't have time to fully go through it because that's the way it is when your funding is, you know, not as great as it could be. So that's why there can be no, or very, like a range of like no description at all to like very in-depth. And then the other rule in archives is no ink and no drink. So you will be asked to leave your personal items in a locker, usually that is outside of the research area or research room, whatever might be happening. Yeah, so no ink or drink. So yeah, that's kind of that. And then there's museums. So libraries, archives, and museums are kind of grouped together as memory institutions. That's what we call them. Museums are object or artifact based, and then I hope my GIF is working on your end. The can of worms, yeah. Anyway, so I'm not going to really touch on my opinions of museums because we don't have time. But I will say that there are a few institutions throughout Canada that have free admission for Indigenous people. So the Royal Alberta Human in Edmonton, Human Rights in Winnipeg, the ROM, the Royal Ontario in Toronto, and the National Gallery in Ottawa. And if I don't know if that's fully complete, But that's what I found. So moving on. Oh yeah, I didn't fix that. Okay, well, archival terminology. So this is kind of explains a little bit more in depth about what, how it actually works, like what you're actually searching for when you are searching in a database. So it's like at the file level and then a series. So maybe like, I don't know, like, let's say like, okay, like this person, let's say I donated like some stuff that I thought was important at the back of my closet. I found all my stuff from my undergrad, and then I donated that. And then at the back of my closet, I found all my stuff from my graduate work. So that could be like 2 series, like within like my phone, my collection. And then there's files. So it's like, oh, and then in this binder, there was like all this, like, honestly, if it was from my undergrad, it would be garbage. It would just be such trash. But like, because it was so long ago that I did that. And you know what? Same from everything I touched when I went to school. Like, it would just be a bunch of trash. But like, theoretically, if I had good notes and everything, that's what it would look like. So we try to group things together like that. And I always have to like really like think about like what exactly like I'm searching for when I'm searching for things, and like what, yeah, I really have to like do some brain work. Yeah. Okay. So now the fun stuff. So now like the Métis stuff. So first things first, if you are doing your Métis genealogy, I would start like with our Métis organizations, because the people that work there work with our records and our stuff all the time. So they are familiar with our stories of like, if you went and said like, I'm looking, I'm not really sure where to start, it wouldn't phase them at all. They'd be like, oh yeah, whatever, take a number, kid, you know, or whatever, like maybe not, who knows, but like, it wouldn't phase them. If you were looking, beginning your search there. I know a lot of like our Métis provincial organizations, again, another can of worms, not going to talk about that. But I know they do have experience in completing people's, or like assisting people with genealogical records. So you could start with any of our provincial organizations, but also other cultural organizations that we do have. So the Gabriel Dumont Institute has huge amount of resources. I hadn't been there like on the internet. I haven't been anywhere in a while. But like, I meant like online. I haven't been to their website in a while, and they've really like updated a lot of things, and they have a whole PDF of like different resources and books about where to start looking for things. So that's this PDF on this guide. I think because we have because this is a registered event and we have everyone's email, I think we can like email out the recording and also the slides. So yeah, don't like frantically try to write things down. It's not necessary. The other things that I'll point out right now, I'm just gonna really embarrass myself if I try it in French. So I'm just gonna say the St. Boniface Historical Society, and yeah, they have a lot of information. We'll take a look at them in a bit. as well as the Métis National Council Historical Database. They have information for you. So is there any like questions like right now? Okay, yes, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Royal BC in Victoria too, and the Museum of Anthropology in Vancouver. Awesome. Okay, and then everybody's just like laughing at me. It's okay. Well, I don't see any other like questions right now. So I'm also like too nervous to like look through it too hard. So anyway, yeah, okay. Public libraries. So COVID has wrecked a lot of things, to be like totally honest. But one positive thing that happened from COVID, so many public libraries subscribe to Ancestry, the Ancestry Library Edition, and you can access it with your library card. So before, you had to access, if you wanted to access Ancestry with your public library card, you had to do so on site. So while you are in the library, but now that, you know, everything is the way it is, now you can access Ancestry Library Edition if you have a public library card from home. That is, it's until the end of the year, 2021, so December 31st, 2021. And then they might, I don't know, revert back to the way it was before, or they might try something else. I don't know what they're going to do. Ancestry is a private company. I'm sure you've seen advertisements throughout just being a human being. There's advertisements for them on TV and wherever. But you can access the library edition with your public library card, free from home. And many public libraries now have, you can get a public library card online too. So it's like it's an awesome time for genealogy projects, our second COVID winter. So anyway, yeah. And the other thing that I wanted to say about public libraries is usually they will have like a reference department, or it might be called something like information services, or I don't know. Anyway, there's a few different things that they're calling it. Yeah, they answer questions. That's the job. So if you have questions, you can ask them. And I made also this slide. So these are links to kind of like local history resources at a few different major urban centers. To be honest, I was like, oh, this is gonna be the best thing ever. Like, I'm like able to do like public library programming like with my community, like, and not have to like fill in any stats or any reports after. But then, and I was like, that's really exciting. And then I was like, but wait, I don't know where everyone is coming from. So I just like I only did some. I was like, oh, can I put together like resources for finding genealogy every place that our people are this week? No, I cannot. So I put some together, but there's space for others as well. Okay, so we got our provincial organizations, we got cultural centers, those kind of places, and then we have public libraries. And then we also have Library and Archives Canada. So I will trash talk the government of Canada all day long, but they have some receipts if you want to come for them. So it's actually kind of interesting I promised myself that I wouldn't get very academic in this talk, and I am going to adhere to that promise. But there is an article by a researcher called Vern Harris, and he wrote about archives in South Africa. So if you put that into your favorite search engine, I'm sure it would come up. So in that article, he writes about how archives are a sliver of a sliver of a sliver of the truth. And like as a memory institution, like the purpose behind the archives are to hold memories of like the state's actions. And like, so it's like the state's memory bank is what's in the archive. So that's essentially what you are accessing when you access Library and Archives Canada. You are accessing the records of the actions and the policies and the receipts of like what the state has done. So when it comes to Indigenous people, there's a lot of things that have been done. They do have, to say the very least of what that is, what that history is. So they do have Métis specific landing page, including like all of the Métis stuff kind of all together for you to access. A lot of it has been digitized, not everything. But that doesn't mean that you can't access it. It just means that there's a little bit of a workaround. So the things that are included in Library and Archives Canada are things like census records, land claims, scrip records. There's also some photos and maps, and just really, really neat stuff. Yeah, so I guess focusing on scrip records, because I think, yeah, that's like a really interesting thing to me. So the way to do it, I can show a live demo after or whatever, if people want to do that. So to search for a script file of a particular person, or maybe I should just do that. Maybe I should just like show you how to do it. Okay, yeah, maybe I will. On the fly stuff. Okay, so, oh, whoopsies. Oh man. Okay, here we go. Copy and paste. Da, da, da. Watch me do this. All right. So here we are on collection search on the Library and Archives Canada website. This is the direct link to like searching for scrip records. So there's breadcrumbs to follow before. If you just go to Library and Archives Canada, then there's like different collections you can access. Click on Métis Nation and then click on scrip records. And this is where we are now. Okay. And in all these words search field, enter scrip without quotation marks, and then a name of an applicant. So I have an example that works, but is there anyone who wants to be like, oh yeah, whoopsies. Thank you, Lindsay, for keeping me correct. I really like that. Okay, so if there's anyone that wants to like put the name of a relative that they Vandal. Okay, cool. Let's do this. Vandal. Okay, let's see. Scrip. Vandal. And then I think you have to do something. Okay, so here's an annoying thing. So instead of all, click collections and phone to do an archive search, and then click on search. And then something happens. Okay, cool. And this is the first record that comes up. Let's click on the image to see what my internet will do. Maybe it will load very slowly. I have it plugged into the Ethernet cable, so it would be fast, but here we are. Cool. Okay. Wow. I'm just looking at this. Oh yeah. This is so interesting. What is your name? Maria. And then like, what was your name of your mother? Okay, anyway. And then look at these, like question 7, is your father? And like it's crossed out and says, was her a half-breed or an Indian? And then the answers are half-breed, half-breed. Anyway, this is interesting. I have never seen. Cool. Okay. I'm gonna pop out of this image search. Yeah, I've never seen that kind of questionnaire before either. I'm gonna pop out of this image search, or the image attached to this record, just to kind of talk about the what it is that we're looking at. So this part of the record, so RG15, those are scrip records. So the RG15, those are the phones that include scrip records. So I think there's 3 of them. They're listed on the Métis landing page for Library and Archives Canada. So that's what you're looking at. So the context of this record, okay, here we go. So it comes from the Department of the Interior, from the Government of Canada, and the Dominion Lands branch. Specifically, at the time, everything in the prairies was called the Northwest Territories. So these are the Northwest Territories scrip applications for Maria Vandal, for her deceased daughter. So, and then I think it's talking about how much money each person got, because you could accept scrip either as money or as land. And like, I know a lot of people didn't, like my family, they didn't accept land because they were like, what? Why would we accept land? That doesn't make any sense. Like, how can you own land? It's so dumb. Like, give us that cash. So they took cash, but there was an option, so to speak. Yeah. So does anyone want to, I'm looking, Maria, let's see. I have some examples, but I love this. So let's do this. Okay, so scrip instead of Vandal, Maria, and in collections, and we're gonna click on search. And we get 13 results. So scrip affidavit for Maria Sarah, who was born McCorrister. Are these results that we would expect? It might be under McAllister too. Okay. Is this, is the first record what we think we should get when we type those words in? Oh, the one with her father Henry is her. Okay. Oh yeah, Father Henry McCorrister. Yeah, this is her. So yeah, that's, yep. let's see what it is. Let's make it bigger. Whoa, too aggressive. Okay. But yeah, you can download the PDF. So that's pretty cool. And then there's the context of this record. Yeah. So she was born 1856. Yeah, same collection. So the Department of the Interior from the Dominion Lands Branch, Métis, but this is interesting because it's included in the series for Métis and original white settlers. Okay. Anyway, so those are a couple. Oh, that's okay. Let's try one more live example. Charles Ross Jr. Just to see who comes up. So erase that. Charles Ross Jr. Collections and phone. To whom the scrip was delivered of Pierre and Marie Desjardins. Is that what is that? Let's see. That's okay to be a slow typer. The internet here is slow, so okay. They literally digitized like the file. Cool. Okay. Archives, such a weird thing. But sir, is this, I'm not too sure what I'm looking at. Oh man, not related that I know of. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Sometimes I have a hard time. I got a question here. Sometimes I have a hard time reading all that fancy writing on old documents. Any advice or resources? No. Sometimes like I don't know, it's so hard. I know there is software available that can help with like there is software available for people who like do a lot of research with primary source documents. Do I know of any? No. Do I recommend any? I don't know. I like remember at the beginning when I said I'm not an expert, I wasn't kidding. But I can look into it and I can like let you know. But I don't know of anything off the top of my head. I know for like reading regular PDF, like regular being like typed text, like the OCR being on. So like OCR being like optimized, I don't know what it stands for, but it's to make PDFs readable for like the actual text as readable to like a machine reader for like folks who have disabilities. It will read the thing to you. So that's the thing about that. But I don't know. I like optical character recognition. Yeah, that is totally true. Sometimes file jackets themselves have interesting notes that are worth a look. Yeah, and it's a part of a thing, the whole like respect to font like idea of like, well, maybe this will become relevant later on. Like if somebody was researching like handwriting, I like matching or whatever. So there's different, yeah, you never know. So they keep a lot more than I would, because I'm like, oh, recycle everything. I don't care. I guess that's why I don't work in archives. Yeah, cool. Okay, so that's like live demonstration in this. I have some other stuff. So that's how you do it. those are the steps. Okay, so let me just, from the current slide. Okay, so the examples that I have was building on work from my cousin that research that he did. We knew that we took scrip because we knew that about us. But he couldn't find like the scrip records forever. And like, so he was searching. So he finally emailed the reference, the contact us part of like the Library and Archives Canada. And they emailed him and they're like, yeah, it's digitized online, but not in our database. It's in Canadiana Heritage. So they just emailed him the record for that. And then this is like our family stuff. So I just want to point out, I just want to like advance my slides before I'm ready. But so it's the same. So the Department of the Interior, RG15, and the file number, like the volume 575, and the volume number, like this 1770 blah blah blah, like it comes directly from the file number on the actual thing. So like we try to keep like the records management stuff as like true to the way that they did it at the time. So it's kind of like, it kind of blows my mind, like looking at scrip records, to be honest, because like it's like you aren't, so yeah, exactly, yes, absolutely, you can quote me on that. Sorry, I'm like doing 17 things at once. I'm like looking at the chat, I'm like talking, I'm losing my train of thought. Oh, my mom is in the waiting room now. Anyway, she's here. So going back to like that idea of like the archives being like record keeping for the government and like a sliver of a sliver of a sliver of the truth, like you would think, like especially when it comes to scrip, that there wouldn't be records of like what they did, and like there wouldn't be any like evidence of like what happened, but there is. And it just like kind of really blows my mind, where it's like, oh yeah, this is what you did, you know, like you did this. Like it really is like a, I know we're in a truth and whatever kind of time, but like these are the receipts, like they're in the Canadian, the Library and Archives Canada, like collections. Like we have those stories of how we were able to arrive in this moment in 2021. So it just, yeah. Anyway, a little bit of a tangent. I'm gonna double check the the truth and reconciliation, yeah, truth and whatever time. Oh yeah, everybody say hi to my mom, she's here now. Hi Marianne. Anyway, yeah, I think that's all I want to say about script stuff, so we'll just keep on going. The Archives of Manitoba have really cool stuff in them too. Obviously, a lot of the Red River settlement records are within there. So yeah, there's the documents of like Red River settlement census records. So they have them starting from 1827 ish, I think, to like the 40s. So, and then there's another collection within those same archives. So one layer, so they have those census records, and then remember that, so another phone, I think, yeah, phone, that includes other census records that go up to 1870. As well as like the Council of Assiniboia, like all of the correspondence and court reports. The Archives of Manitoba also includes really cool things like the HBC archives. So the Hudson's Bay Company, those frenemies to the Métis, they have things like the who was working on what and like the contracts, all sorts of fun things there. Oh, it's okay, Mom. It's okay, Mom had the wrong time. I didn't, but it took great effort for me to not have the wrong time. So yeah, I won't do a live anything with them right now, but I would say like any, if for like everyone, what I would say right now about the Archives of Manitoba is because it has a lot of Red River stuff within it. So if you think maybe your family goes back to all the way to Red River, try looking in there, because as we know, we're in a bit of a diasporatic sort of experience. Is diasporatic like a diaspora / sporadic Métis thing? So don't get stuck on the idea of it just being Manitoba. They have the Red River stuff in there too. Is there any questions? Yes. Okay. Cool. No, there is not. Let's keep going. Okay, so the iPortal from the University of Saskatchewan. So I talk about the iPortal all the time. This is like my job. So the URL for the iPortal is iportal.usask.ca. This is a screenshot of the landing page, what that looks like. So it was one of the first, I don't know if it was the first, actually, but I do know is that it was created by the University of Saskatchewan to be a big repository and database for Indigenous knowledge. So that's why you don't need to be a university student in order to access this. You can just type in the URL to your favorite web browser and you can access it. You can create an account up in the top right-hand corner of the page, and that way you can keep track of like your favorite things. So you can save it. So all of these different facets of the turtle, they're all interconnected. So, you know, like Indigenous knowledge is. You can click on, I clicked on history, and there's some genealogy stuff in there. There's also more than just what you would expect from an academic resource. While it does include a lot of academic resources like ebooks, journal articles, all that good stuff. It also includes things like podcasts and more popular magazine written articles and blogs and photographs. All that fun stuff is in there. So yeah, other places to look. Provincial archives. So in each capital city, they have a provincial archives. I know the one in Edmonton, because I was previously there, has a lot of Indigenous related history, and they have a lot of like church records. So they do a lot of assisting with people with like oh man, like finding records of school attendance for both day schools and residential schools. Also, university libraries have a lot, including their special collections. What I will say about university libraries, you don't need to be a university student in order to access these resources. Okay. A lot of people feel like, oh, I can't bother the university libraries. I can't, that's not for me. That's not true. Universities in Canada are funded, first of all, provincially. So they get their money from the provinces, and that money comes from your tax dollars. So we all know Métis people, we pay taxes. All Indigenous people pay taxes. So you are allowed to access what the university has. We have space for you there. So in a lot of special collections within the that are within the university library systems, so both within their archives and libraries, they have a lot of Indigenous stuff, and you are special enough for special collections. The other thing where you could look is provincial genealogical societies. So they're getting a lot of they're getting used to getting requests from Indigenous folks. So yeah, and they are experts, and they know what they can find and what can't be found. Yeah, the other thing, am I going to say it? I don't even remember what my slides look like. Like, what else am I going to say? Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so interlibrary loan is a thing that a lot of people don't know about. And so this is what I mean when I say that you can access the stuff that's in the university libraries. So if you have a public library card, you can, and you know there's a book at the university in wherever you are, or any university, you can request an interlibrary loan. So that means that your public library will borrow it from the university and they will lend it to you. So they still have to, like, it's a way of like collection sharing that keeps costs down for libraries, and is a way that we can share resources. So like I said at the beginning, like public libraries are more interested I'm sorry. Public libraries include like things like published materials for a general audience, but there might be people who would want to access more academic materials. That's one way that you can do that without paying academic prices or attending the university yourself. So yeah. The other thing that's really handy that I used to use a lot, but I don't so much anymore, WorldCat, which is so fun to say. WorldCat is a worldwide catalog of everything that's in libraries across the world. So oh yeah, here, I'm just going to show this to you because this is so cool. So when I was like talking to my cousin about the work that he did, he was talking about like the Gail Morin like genealogical research that she did. I was like, what's that? I don't know. And he's like, Gail Morin is like the person like who has done so much work on like creating like genealogical records. She has published like a 6-volume series of like, these are like families, and like each has like different like last names. So you can, it's available to purchase on large online booksellers whose CEOs may or may not go to space as a hobby, but it's quite expensive. So I looked it up in WorldCat, So it's just worldcat.org. I put Métis families in, or maybe I put Gail Morin. I'm not too sure what I put in. But the screenshot that's in the slide and this live page on the internet, it shows you which libraries throughout the world have that resource. So kind of neat. Yeah, and I know the Glenbow in Calgary has the Gail Morin papers, I guess, or they have her research there. So I want to show you. So this is like, I just looked at, so this is an author search for Gail Morin. I just want to show you the Gail Morin family's books. Yeah, so here it is on Evil Conglomerate. Yeah, so volume 1 is at Adam to Bird. But like buying all 6 and like $60. So like buying like all of them is like, it's an investment, but I will say there's a workaround of that, of like using interlibrary loan to be able to borrow that book from different places through your public library. What else was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, I think I'm done talking. Oh yeah, I said I was only going to talk for a bit, and I like talked for an hour. It's like so typical. That's like so brutal. Like, why would you? Anyway, so in conclusion, here's another GIF of like, having fun isn't hard when you have a library card. Oh no, I want to go back. There we go. So that's my email. If you have questions, I can take questions now. Like, that's totally cool. But if you have questions, you can email me at my work email, because then if it's my work email, I will do it. But if it's like, if you email my personal email, it's like, I may or may not get to it, because like personal time is like, anyway. But like, if it's in my work inbox, then I will likely get to it. Maybe like, there's a greater chance. Yeah, so I'm cool with ending the recording. I mean, unless people like have questions that they want to be recorded, that they think would be, but like, I don't
Sheila,
know.
there's one in the chat about church records. Would you be able to share a little bit about how people access those?
Yeah, totally. Okay, yeah, Arthur. The Gail Morin. Okay, so I'm looking at these. I'm looking at the chat now. Yeah, Gail Morin has a lot more than those 6 in that series. I might have just seen like a clump of 6 on an Evil Conglomerate. What is in those Gail Morin books? I haven't looked at them myself, but they do trace back like a lot of like original families, or like folks to Red River. Has anyone accessed these books? Like, could anyone else answer better than I could? I was just told by my cousin that these are like the like handiest things ever when you're starting your research. So I was like, okay, I'll tell them to use that. I don't know. Yeah, and then what is the other? Where about church records? Okay. It depends. Oh, cool. Findagrave.com. I found some really interesting stuff there. Cool. I didn't know about that. Thank you. Church records. It depends on what you're looking for and where. So I know you're more likely to find church records in provincial archives. Some church records will have some stuff. Some are, we've talked, like there's a conversation that's happening, especially in the world right now, about releasing the church records when it comes to residential schools. I know that some churches do have their own archives. So you would be able to look at for example, like I know the Anglicans have their own archives. The Catholic one is called the Oblates. They have their own records, different places. To be like completely honest with you, I'm not too sure what is all would be included in there, but things like baptismal records, marriage certificate things would be included in that. So if you're trying to see like, okay, who was baptized and therefore born in this community, and like who were their parents, that would be on a baptismal record. Or like, when did these people get married? That happened in a church. I find like church stuff is a bit tricky. I could look at, the Mormons also have extensive archives. Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm like also reading and like thinking and talking all at once, and then therefore I just, oh, my mom is in the chat, and she said, we found your dad's baptismal certificate from the diocesan office. Okay, so like that's cool. So if you're looking for baptismal certificates, like in the if you are applying for citizenship, that would be, what does it mean if a scrip is canceled? I don't know. I don't know. That's a great question, and I don't have an answer. Yes, thank you, Kai. I am so glad. I could take a look into what that would mean, but I don't have an answer right now, but I can look. Thank you, Kai, for this. I'm so glad you're, because I know you've done a lot of research as well, and I know that like we exist throughout the prairies, and then a line came across the prairies along the 49th parallel, and I think if we're talking about like Métis history and Métis heritage, I think that line is arbitrary. I think it's arbitrary to us right now. So yeah, thank you for saying the Wisconsin Historical Society books, which are free on Google. Yes, and ancestry.ca has lots of access to wedding and homework. Yes, that is true, Emily, but if you have a public library card, you can access it for free if your library has a subscription to ancestry.ca right now until the end of December. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because like, oh, wow, there you all are. Oh, man. Okay. Hi, everyone. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you all are.
Maybe I'll stop the recording now so folks
sure, I don't know.
If anyone wants to unmute and ask a question as well, we could do that.
Sure. Yeah. Like I'm good.